From my translation of Beowulf, Grendel. Fiercest foe, product of envy, a gut fire flared at the sight of treasures it sought but could never secure. Music, wealth, gilt halls were agony to the scaled creature, Cain's child, that loped from his home in the mire of the mine. The iron-latticed doors were nothing to Grendel, gold-edged copper hinges bent beneath claws. In shadowy silence he entered the court hall. The satchel of immutable dragon hide flapped empty, hungry for meat, beside his long thigh. In the darkness his heart sought Hrothgar, like calling like as Cain called Abel to the kill-stone. His terrible claw closed around a Geat's tough side, clamped down hard, splintering the bone cage of a mail-clad man who perished without a lone escaping cry. Beowulf's eyes were sharp in the darkness. He sprung awake at the sound of splintering as shards and gobbets gorged the throbbing throat of Grendel, sinking flesh to the gullet that never felt fed. The greatest of men slunk to the slick side of the gibbering monster. The strongest of Geats, mother-naked, gripped the ravening claw with hands that were tough but terribly human. He caught the claw in an arm lock, drawing it back so that the bones cracked, his thighs tight around the waist of the thrashing tyrant that shuddered and thrust around the hall against the hard hold of the man. Locked together, in struggle so great that the mead benches broke free from the floor, scattering lamps, food scraps, lovely wrought platters, and the spent carpet of rushes that flit their filth into the air. Cain's son, the shadow of Hrothgar, shunted his own breaking body into the wall in an effort to slake his enemy's endless thirst for combat, or at least leave the brains of the Geat smeared on the oak beams, scattering skull shards at the talons that tipped his horned feet. A fatty feast to fill his bowels. But Beowulf held on, and his armed men were up now, seeking to prod the pale bestial belly with the etched blades of their swords, spilling guts everywhere. They could not strike clearly without risking their captain, but their distraction served long enough for the undaunted noble to strengthen his hold. Beowulf sunk his bright beard between the beast's broad shoulders. Straining, he focused his strength so that the room was filled with a terrible shrieking, the sound of torn muscles and air meeting the bright knob which once fit into its matched socket of bone. Blood shower, bone flecks, the red meat of the shoulder rained down on the man who clutched the detached claw in his arms. The great Geat held his trophy up as his triumph rang throughout the hall. It was the treasure he was seeking. Pouring blood, gore socket weeping his life into the dog-licked rushes, Grendel slunk out, reeling, to die in his hole. More coming. Thank you. This is from Beowulf, a new translation by Bethany W. Pope.